Good morning. With the help of Hashem, we are learning Yerushalmi, Trumais, Perek Ches, Halacha Dalet. We're learning today Daf Pei Beis. We're starting on Daf Pei Beis Amud Aleph, towards the end of the second line, Rav Huna b'Shem Rabbi Yirmiyah. And I can say that today we are really closing the sugyas that we learned over the last few daf, even though this will still continue. But a couple of the concepts that we have been learning, even going back to the Chavraya, will be concluded in today's daf. Now, where did we leave off? This is important. We had a statement yesterday that Rav Meir holds. This is the words, Rav Meir soiref teluya b'chol makom. And that's a big chiddush. Again, it's a big chiddush because we have a kasha on that. Why wouldn't we paskin that way, since we know this is Shitas Rab Shimon, and now we know this is Shitas Rab Meir. And by the way, because of that, we also know for sure that the Reisha of our Mishnah, Chavius Rishoina, is not Rab Meir, because Rab Meir allows one to burn Truma that's Tuluya, which means Truma that's Safek Tameh, and since he allows you B'chol Makom to burn it, he for sure allows you to contaminate it. This, what I just said, is a given. This is not going to be challenged. If you can burn it, you can contaminate it. Okay. Now, not only that, we had a Chizkiah that said a big chiddush. He says, don't think that the Shitas Rav Meir, that if it's already Tuluya, you can burn it, is only if it's a Safek Midoraisa, even if it's only a Safek Midorabanan. The example we gave yesterday was Mador Akum, doesn't matter. To go back to that, not Mador Akum, Safek Mador Akum, like I explained. There was a doubt whether someone brought bread into the Mador Akum, even if the bread was brought in there, or the Truma, it's only Tameh Midrabanan. So it's a Safek Midrabanan. Even there, Rabbi Meir holds that you're saying, even though we didn't have a raya that Rav Meir holds that, but we did bring a tan on top of Daf Pei Beis. Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda, that is of that opinion. Mador Goyim Toilin, Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda Omer Soirfim. I think the Gemara doesn't want to make too many arguments amongst the Tanoim. So once we find a Tana that says Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda Sarfin, we already know that Rav Meir holds Sarfin Truma Tuluya B'chol Makom. To make a new machlokes that Rav Meir is only by a doiraisa and Rabbi Yossi but Rabbi Yehuda is even my Rabbanan Mestama Lafushim machlokes we don't do. But the Gemara, they use that, or Chizkiah used that as a proof. B'shitas Rav Meir. Now, what we're going to introduce today, and this introduction will continue tomorrow, but it's going to be fascinating. And let me just say it right now by heart in our words of introduction. We're going to bring a Mishnah from a Masechtas Bechayros. My friends, a Bechayr from a Behema Tohira is born with a Kedushas Korban. It's born holy. Now, there's another detail. You have to give it to a Kohen, and the Kohen has to bring it as a Korban. If the animal becomes a Balmum, then it becomes property of the Kohen. One is not allowed, Mido Oiraisa, to inflict a blemish on a Bechor to render it into a Balmum. The case that we're going to quote, in which we're going to have a three-way machlokes Tanoim, is going to be a Bechor, an animal, that was seized with some sort of illness. Vadai, the animal will die unless you make an intervention. And the intervention that used to be made in the times of Chazal was bloodletting. There are different ways of bloodletting. And in many cases, the type of bloodletting that this animal needs will render that animal into a Balmum Kavua. That you have to appreciate. If you won't do anything, this Bechor is not going to go on the Mizbeach anyways. It's going to die. At least you're going to save the animal from dying, and then the Kohen will benefit, he'll own the animal. This is very similar, as we see right away, to Chavi Yashaniya. Same thing. You're not allowed to be Metamei Truma. The case of Chav Nishniya was you have Truma Tahira, but it was already poured into the gas. That means it's flowing. It's not maybe. It's already in motion that it will become Tamei anyways. Elama, it's a little bit different. Here, I'm not saving the Truma. In our Mishnah, I want to at least save the Chul and Tameim. And the Mishnah allows you to do it. So the Gemara is going to first show you how they're similar. And then there's going to be three ways. Either it's taka similar, or it's completely different, or it's partially the same. Our Mishnah is Rabbi Yeshua. Today we're going to focus on the Shita of Rab Shimon in Bechoros, who holds that you are lechatchila allowed to bloodlet this Bechor, knowing that you're going to make the Bechor into a Balmo. So either Rabbi Yeshua holds like each case is different, that will be a stretch, or we're going to spend most of the daf today, Bishitas, Rab Ze'era, that says that it's a one-way connection. And as we'll see which one way, whether Rabbi Yeshua holds like Rab Shimon or Rab Shimon holds like Rabbi Yeshua. We're going to also have a very important statement of Rabbi Yechanan. We know this from the Rambam, and the words are Hesech Hadas Dvar Torah. Hesech Hadas Dvar Torah in the context of Truma means that if a person completely left Truma unsupervised, Midoiraisa, we have to presume it became Tamei. Very much going back to the sugya of Geluya, that you left the water uncovered, there's Nachash went in there and he deposited venom. And we're going to see, we're going to go back today for the final day. I didn't get that far ahead, but I got a little bit ahead already. That the Mishnah in Psachim, Daf Yudalit, Shitas Rav Meir, that you can burn Chametz Truma Tohoira together with Chametz Truma Tameya. We're going to go back to that, and we're going to throw in the topic of Hesech Hadas. We're going to Bachlal wonder what's the Chiddush of Rav Meir. Since it's Erev Pesach and you're about to burn it, so you have Hesech Hadas. If you have Hesech Hadas, it's Tamei. Why Bachlal is it considered Truma Tohira? And we're going to fine tune a little bit, and we're going to appreciate better the Shita of Rav Meir over there, Psachim Daf Yudala. This is today's daf, and let's dive right in. This is Gavaldik. So Rav Funa b'Shem Rav Yirmiyah. We are continuing to learn again Shitas Rav Meir, Soiref Tuluya B'chol Makir. So his expression is that Rav Meir Soiref Tuluya B'Shari Yemais Hashanah. In other words, even though we quoted the Braisa regarding Chametz, Truma, Erev, Shabbos, that's Erev Pesach. Remember that Braisa? It's when you have the norm, Erev Pesach is on a weekday, we burn the chametz, and if you have truma that's chametz, we burn it. Vaday. The question is, do you burn truma tohira with truma tameya? Okay, machlekes Rabbi Yosi Rab Meir. But what happens if Erev Pesach is Shabbos? That means you cannot burn the chametz on Erev Pesach. Can't do that. So really, the first step is, I just want to chazer a Mishnah. I think it's the first Mishnah in the second chapter of Psachim, and I also want to just to make a correction. I think it was Yakir that reminded me when we quoted yesterday the who do we paskin like, it's not from Chulin, it's from Eruvin. It was about an Eruvin that gives you all of the klalim when the Tanoim argue halacha like whom. Anyway, this is the first Mishnah in the second chapter of Mesechtes Psachim regarding Shitas Rabbi Yehuda. People know this. Rabbi Yehuda ein bir chametz al sreif. The Chachamim oimrim af getting matzaloshin mefarer v'zoyre leruach oy mata layam, or something like that. In other words, just remember that, are you obligated to actually burn the chametz? It's a machlokes tanoim. Why am I saying that? Because according to the Chachamim, which is, by the way, the shita of the Chachamim in the Braisa that we already learned, that when Yud Gimel is Erev Shabbos, Yud Dalid Nisan is Shabbos. The Chachamim hold, who cares? The only issue of Shabbos is you can't burn on Shabbos. But you can be mefared v'zoyre l'ruach on Shabbos. You're not doing anything wrong with that, which, by the way, which is what we do. We do both. We make a burning Friday. Not only do we burn it on Friday, but loy plug, not to confuse the kids, we burn it in the 5th hour. We burn it when people are used to the burning of the chametz. Even though be'emes, there's no reason. You can burn it Friday afternoon. We burn it bismanoi, but we save Falacha Mishnah for Shabbos. And what do we do with the leftovers? Whoever, it doesn't happen that often. It happened this last year. Thank you. I don't even remember that it happened last year. It was much as Shabbos. So you whatever. However people do it, we throw it out. That's because we paskin like the Chachamim. Just to know that Rabbi Meir paskins like Rabbi Yehuda, even though many times they argue. And he holds that you have to burn it. So now you got a problem. If you have to burn it, you can't burn it on Shabbos, so you burn it on Friday. Now the Braisa mentioned, just want to say that you burn it im chashecha. You burn it right before it gets dark. We're going to come back to this. Why does Rav Meir make you wait so late? But here Rav Meir is saying, this is important, that not only like he said in the Braisa, that when Yud Gimel is Friday, and he says you got to burn Truma even Tuluya. By the way, you have to burn Truma. No, Toira you can't burn, you have to eat. You can still eat it. But Tuluya you can't eat. So he says burn it. He says you burn Tuluya im Chashecha. With Tameya, that's what the Braisa says of Rav Meir. Really, Rav Meir holds that it's lav dafka because you got to burn chametz. Not only that. It's now that we take a note that Rabbi Meir holds that soirif tuluya b'chol makim. If you want, you can burn tuluya b'shari yamais hashana. Also, you can contaminate tuluya b'shari yamais hashana. All of this is just coming back to one point in Masechtas Trumos, that the Reisha of our Mishnah that says that Rabbi Yeshua Eimer, that you bring it, you uncover the barrel of you put it into a place where it's going to become Tameh. That Reisha was not authored by Rabbi Meir, because had Rav Meir, the way Rav Meir learned Rabbi Yeshua would have said, Bimatame it. He would have gone even further. Okay, but now that we're having this statement, Rav Meir says, Soirev Tuluya B'Shari Yemais Hashana, so Frek the Gemara, hold on. Did we not just learn a Braisa that when you have Truma, Tuluya, and Temeya, so the big chiddush of Rav Meir is that you can burn them together. Soirfin Oisei Erev Shabbos Im Chashecha Divrei Rabbi Meir. Right, we just learned this. The Chachamim L'Shitasam of Psachim Pedig Beis that hold that Af Mefarad V'Zoyre L'Ruach Hamata Layam B'Chal, you don't have to burn it, then why would you burn it? They hold, no, Bismana means you get rid of it on Shabbos. B'Oifen Hamuter. Many people find it disrespectful, but many people flush it down the toilet. Many people throw the crumbs down the toilet. When you have an Eruv, you can throw it out. Anyway, it doesn't matter. The point is, the Chachamim don't insist on burning, so they have no issue with that. Rav Meir holds like Rabbi Yehuda, you have to burn it. Since you have to burn it, you can't burn on Shabbos, you got to burn it on Friday. Here comes the kasha. If Rav Meir holds that Sorfin Tuluya, B'chol Makim, and B'shari Yemais Hashana, why did Rav Meir insist in waiting Im Chashecha? What's the Mamish? Why Im Chashecha v'Yisrael v'Shachris? Just want to speak to two nekudas of the machlekes and psachim. It came to me. Number one is Al Pi Nigla. There's a Rab Chaim who says that the machlekes between Rabbi Yehuda and the Chachamim is whether the mitzvah of Tashbisu is on the outcome, which will be the sheet of the Chachamim. It has to be annihilated from the world. How you do it, who cares? Versus Rav Meir that holds that the mitzvah is the action of the destruction. And therefore, you have to burn it. But al pi Chasidus, there's a much deeper machlokes, and that is that everything is composed of 4 yisoidus, and then there's something that's called the koyach hayuli. And the question regarding chametz is, to what point do you have to uproot chametz? Do you only have to uproot it on a more external level? If you only have to uproot it on a more external level, then it suffices to be mefarad v'zoyre l'ruach. Don't forget that when you break it into crumbs and you throw it into the air, every crumb is chametz. You can't eat it, but you didn't destroy it. That Rabbi Yehuda, now we know Rav Meir holds Rabbi Yehuda, that he says you have to burn it. That's because they hold that chametz you have to destroy all the way to its root. It's a much deeper avodah. And the emesis, you would argue, so why would the Chachamim argue? The Chachamim would actually argue, the Alpi Chasidus, because in the root, everything has to be used l'avodas Hashem. The V'haraya, that on Shavuos, in the Beis HaMikdash, the Shtei Alechem was made out of chametz. So you have to get rid of chametz where chametz doesn't belong, but there is a place for chametz. As the Rebbe says, Vayik balibay b'darchei Hashem, that there is a place for a person to have a certain amount of pride in the service of Hashem, not ego pride, but I'm a Yid proud. Okay, very good. Shminis. Okay, Bekitzer, coming back to this Abam question. Now, we happen to have addressed it from another angle before, and the Gemara is going to repeat it. And the Gemara says, number one, that when the Braisa says, that Rav Meir says that you burn it the last second Friday afternoon, right before it gets dark, which means by us, right before, probably before Lichbenchen. Don't be so courageous. Okay, so then Tiftoid And a chanami, if the person was diligent, the taka would have burnt it earlier because there's no need to wait. Because according to Rabbi Meir, there's no issue in burning chametz, truma, even though it's only teluya. I don't care that it's not temeya. It happened b'shenes atzel v'loy saraf. In other words, the point Rabbi Meir wants to make is that even for the lazy people that didn't burn it earlier, Rav Meir argues with the Chachamim in Psachim. Rav Meir holds like Rabbi Yehuda. That's the point that the Baraisa wants to make. Rav Meir says that to be Mekayim the mitzvah of Tashbisu, you don't get to crumble it and to throw it into the air or throw it outside or flush it down. You don't get to do that. You have to burn it. So therefore, make sure you burn it in Chashecha. And Teidol Chashu Kain, I'll prove it to you. Because since the Tanina, this is quoting a Baraisa now. It says, Temeya, there is the Braisa not only mentions the quote that we made before, which is Truma Tuluya Utemeya. The Braisa also quoted Truma Temeya together. Truma Temeya. Now let me ask you a question. Truma Temeya has to be burnt b'shari Yom Hashana. You have to burn Truma Temeya. The Braisa also says that if you have chametz, that's Truma, not Tuluya. Temeya, burn it in chashecha. 1 second. Why? You know, you would think that maybe Tuluya you can burn. Elama, since you have a chiyuv to burn chametz, you have to burn it. So burn it the last second. And it would make sense why to wait to the last second, because Tuluya means there's a doubt. I just want to tell people, when something is in a state of doubt, there's always the possibility that the doubt will be clarified. So in other words, if you think the pshat of waiting until it gets dark is the way the kasha is, no, you can't stop burn it, but you have to. But then why would Temeya not be burnt in the morning? Why does the Braisa also mention that Temeya should be burnt im chashecha? By Temeya vadai, the only reason why you're waiting until it gets dark, we're speaking about someone, Veloy, Muzain, that Bishin Esatzel, the guy is lazy, and he didn't burn it as he should have earlier, certainly as he could have earlier. And Rav Meir is trying to point out that you don't have the option of mefared v'zoyre l'ruach. You don't have an option of getting rid of chametz on Shabbos, not the way we paskin. You have to burn it. So he's saying, make sure im chashecha, burn the teluya and burn the tameya. Okay, this is one way of understanding the Braisa. Amar Rabbi Abba Mori, who's the brother of Rabbi Yossi. I'll give you another way of understanding the Braisa. Really, again, Rav Meir soidev teluya b'chol makim. Rav Meir holds your soidev teluya b'shari yomos hashana. There's no need to wait. The case of the Braisa that tells you burn teluya im chashecha, not a lazy person. Guys, if the truma is tohira, you don't burn it at all. Eat it. You're not allowed to burn it. No, if
the whole thing, like if you have leftovers, you can burn.
That you can only burn im chashecha, because you can only burn it the last second. So elama. But what happens if you have truma tohira and then it became tamei? Tamei avadai, tamei besafek. That is the case of the Braisa, and their bottom line is, and therefore v'lei shama min klum. So we stand with our tradition, b'shitas Rav Meir, that truma teluya soiref b'chol makom, and also b'shari yomos hashana. There's no unique leniency because it's erev Pesach, erev Shabbos.
Like he just has leftover.
No, because he would have burnt it earlier. No, the question is, why does the Braisa say burn it? Why did Rav Meir say burn it in chashecha? Because if there would have been teluya already in the morning, you would have burnt it in the morning. It's because it became teluya. What should you do? If a suffix happens 5 p.m., so burn it as long as it's not yet Shabbos, says Rav Meir, chaparayin, and burn it. Okay. And now we are introducing the Mishnah Mesachtos B'chaydos. In the Bavli, it's B'chaydos Daf Lamed Gimel. We're going to go back to this Mishnah, my friends. Tomorrow on Daf Pei Gimel, we're going to quote the whole Mishnah, because over there, it's really a three-way Machloikes Tanoim. You have the Chachamim, you have, I think, Rabbi Yehuda. I'll take a look on Pei Gimel. And then you have Shitas Rab Shimon. And now we're going to focus on Shitas Rab Shimon. And we are bringing this in concerning Chavi Yeshaniya. So, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, you should know that the Rabbi Yeshua from our Mishnah, second case, and the Rab Shimon and Mesachtes B'chayros, Shneim Amru Davar Echad, they are of the same opinion. So let's read the marafulda, it's around a little bit lower than the middle and the narrow. Rabbi Yeshua, Rab Shimon, Amru Davarecha, different gears, so he takes out the word Shneim. Rabbi Yeshua, which one are we referring to? Now we're moving on to Chav Yeshnia. Right, Aviv, you remember the case. You have truma from that was poured into a vat. And it's a type of wine press or vat that when you pour it in the top, let's say it takes like 10 seconds to get to the bottom. And ultimately it falls into the bottom vat. In the bottom vat, you have chulin temeim. Let me just add what we learned in the Braisa. You don't have enough chulin temeim to take away the meduma. You don't have 100 to 1. Which means that when the truma falls into the chulin, the status will be meduma. Meduma is a loss, but it's not a total loss because at least a kohen is allowed to consume meduma. The owner sells it to a kohen, b'demei truma b'zoil. But if the chulin is temeim, the truma is tahira, but it's going to fall into, and it will become meduma temeim. Temeim, not even a kohen can consume it. A kohen is allowed to consume chulin temeim, but he cannot consume truma that's temeim. So the Mishnah says, just a chazar, that if, now, so what are you going to do? I'm sorry. No, there's something that could be done. There, you have a keli right here, and there is a way of putting the keli in the flow. It will capture all of the truma, making it tamei because the keli is tamei, but at least the chulin won't become meduma temeya. Problem is, you're being metama the truma. On the other hand, it's going to become tamei vadai anyways. It's flowing down. It's in motion to becoming tamei. Temeya means impure. The Mishnah adds a nuance, not to forget, that if you have enough time to get a pure utensil, a keli tohira, and even though you're going to lose almost all of it, but you'll be able to salvage one revi'is or more of the truma tohira, then you're obligated to do it, bein l'Rabbi Eliezer, bein l'Rabbi Yeshua. That's what the Mishnah says. But if you can't even salvage a revi'is, Rabbi Eliezer says, sorry, lose. You're not allowed to contaminate the truma, even though it's going to become tamei anyway. Right now, it's not tamei. And here's where Rabbi Yeshua says that you can put a keli. That's the Chav Yeshnia. What's Rab Shimon says, the manafulda of Rab Shimon, the b'chayda. You see, daf lamegim lamed beis. The ma'aseh b'samach, as the Gemara will bring it on daf pei gimel tomorrow, we're going to learn. Now, vashtei darten, b'chayr she'oichazoidam. Oichazadam means that there's some sort of congestion of blood. There's a problem with the circulation. I know that by the Chinese medicine, that's the whole thing. It's all about circulation. I don't know how deep with taichid and it doesn't matter. It's a certain machla, and this is a machla just to know that the animal will not live. That's the case. The animal will die unless you make a medical intervention. The known medical intervention then was sticking a needle somewhere in one of the veins to allow a lot of blood to go out, but doing that will render the animal into a blemished bukhar. Which, by the way, will become, once it happens, the kohen will benefit, which means that it will belong to him, versus no one will benefit. Not the oibishter, it's going to die. It won't be a carbon, nor the owner. So there's three-way opinions, and Rab Shimon is the one that says that yakizoloi, lachatchila, bloodlet, afalpi she'oisa boy mum, even though you're going to make it into a balmum, because kiven she'oichayzoidam, and anyways v'hoylech leibud, it's anyways going to get lost. It sounds very similar to our Mishnah. So now mutar lahatal by mum k'moi chav yeshnia. That what was the logic of Rabbi Yeshua? Sin she'oileches leibud, you can be metamid biyadai.
Same of Shimon with the psik ratio, that it's saying if it's a psik ratio, you cannot do it, but it's kind of like.
Very good. In other words, even though Rab Shimon says Davashen and Eschavin is mutter, not also mutter, but moide Rab Shimon b'psikreisha v'loyamus, that it's chayiv midoiraisa. So very good. So Rab Shlomo is saying that the psikreisha in this direction. No, since it's for sure gonna die, we view it as if you're not doing anything wrong, even though you're ruining it earlier. But there's also you're saving at least the animal won't die. Now the kohen will own the bukhar. Gavaldik. Why they're similar is easy. The hardest to understand is that Rabbi Yechanan says Rabbi Yeshua holds like Rab Shimon. Rab Shimon holds like Rabbi Yeshua. Rabbi Ila, on the other hand, says no one agrees to anyone. Now, how does that work? Let's go schwitz together. Amar Rabbi Lo, no. Rab Shimon de Bechayres v'Rabbi Yeshua de Trumais lo hadein moidel hadein and v'loy hadein moidel hadein. Now, how do you separate both? We're learning this basic Daf Hayomi style, so we're gonna dance around the Pnei Moshe and the Marafolda. We'll pick whichever one was easy, at least for me to understand how you do that, because there are very different ways of how you make it work. The Marafolda gives you information that whoever knows. Now I know if I learned it from the Marafolda, that helps you understand very easy. So the first Marafolda under the Gemara, loy hodein chulei after sfira lei b'chavius. Mutter letama biyadayim. He explains first, Rabbi Shimon. I'm sorry, Rabbi Yeshua, that even though Rabbi Yeshua holds, in the case of our Mishnah, you can be metama it, but no, ain't a moidel b'char. He won't agree that by the b'char you can bloodlet. Why? The b'chavius tamei de Rabbi Yeshua mishum hefset chulin. There is a reason why you can do it. Now we added the words 2 days ago, hefsid meruba. We made that clear because by the chametz and psachim daf yudala, there's also a hefsid. You have to make another pyre. That was the point. Another pyre, another few pieces of wood is not hefsid meruba. But here you're benefiting. Aval gaba b'char. This is important. Ein sham hefsid. Why? The hasfira leilatana de masnis and shama libe de Rab Shimon is without this. The other nicer kalam make such pretzels to make it work. This is good information. The aser l'shoichatay al mumzeh shematel b'shas hakaz. When I learned the Mishnah, I looked up the Mishnah yesterday. Rab Shimon says you can do it. So I said, Rab said you can do it. At least you save the behemoth for the coin, because any bechar that you gifted to the coin, when it becomes a balmum, if it becomes a balmum, becomes private property of the coin. So the Manafulda says, no, go check over there and you'll see that even though you're allowed to do it, you know what you do? You save the animal from dying. You're not allowed to eat it. You're not allowed to eat it. And you know who's not allowed to eat it? Not the coin, nor the owner, if the owner didn't give it to a coin. Why? Because at the end of the day, you made a mum. The kohen, we learned that if a kohen makes a mum on his animal, there's a knas. He can't eat it.
And that's not considered a big loss?
In other words, the point is, first of all, step number one is, without reading this, the other Noisei Kalim don't even acknowledge this. It changes everything. The way everyone else learns Rab Shimon is that you're allowed to do it, and you saved something. So he's saying, no, he's bringing from the Gemara there, that even though Rab Shimon says you can save the animal, you're saving the animal from dying. We get that. You're saving him from the pain. But there's no salvage of finances. In our Mishnah, now that Rabbi Yeshua allows you to capture the truma, tohira, by making it tamei, you benefited the chulin tameim. You saved, you can drink the chulin tameim. Over there, according to Rab Shimon, and we're going to assume that if Rabbi Yeshua would have agreed to Rab Shimon, if he would have agreed all the way, it's a loss anyway. That's what he's saying. That you're not loyal kohen, loyal balim, and therefore the ein sham hatzal klal. In other words, the only reason why Rabbi Yeshua allows you to do it is because of hefsed meruba. That was the whole thing we learned in the past couple of days. You're not allowed to be matama biyadayim. You can do it because you're saving. Rab Shimon is going way beyond. You're not saving anything. You're not saving yourself finances. You know why Rab Shimon allows you to do it? To save the animal. You save the animal. You're allowed to do it. But no one will benefit from this animal. Not the kohen, nor the owners are ever allowed to eat this animal. This is important. Now let me go to the other direction. Now what's the other direction? Why? One second. First, to explain Rab Shimon. Rab Shimon holds. So why are you allowed to do it? So I said wrong. I looked up over there in the Gemara. Not because to save the animal from pain. That's not what it says over there. It says that Rab Shimon holds that when an animal has this type of blood problem, the blood is oichazoidam. There's some issue with the blood circulation. This is already a balmum. And Rab Shimon holds that once an animal has a blemish, the lav of not blemishing the animal is not shaykh in that case. It's a balmum anyways. On the other hand, the knas, which is imposed on someone who's matal mum bekachim, applies even over here. It's very machmir. I'm just explaining. Rab Shimon has another svara. You're not doing anything here, and that's the other side that the Marafulda doesn't explain, and that's why Rab Shimon over there allows you to do it. But who says Rab Shimon will agree over here? Over there, you're being matal mum bibal mum. Here, you're taking truma tohoira and you're making it tameya. True psikresha. It will become tameya, but right now it's not tameya. That's Rabbi Ila. That says that that not one holds like one, none holds like the other.
Rabbi, why is there a knas if he brings the backup animal?
That makes sense. Allah loy plug kevan. No, the biggest challenge is this. A coin has something, no one would know. They're very strict on that. And now Rab Ze'era is going to be the shita that we're going to go all the way till the end of today's share.
Does Rabbi Shimon hold that you can get any financial benefit from the...
There'll be no financial benefit. Again, you're doing it, you're saving the animal's life. You have an animal at stake, go save the animal's life. Are you not allowed to be matal mum?
Can't move with this animal, right?
Can't do anything with this. 1 second. Can you not work with this animal? Yeah, but it's a balmum.
You can have no
I don't know
benefits.
the answer to that question. Could be there's some benefit, but it's not called hefsed meruba.
But can you sell it for not doing it?
No. Because you were matal mum. That's what he's quoting from the Gemara. Okay. Omer Rab Ze'era, not like Rabbi Yechanan, not like Rabbi Ila, agrees to the comparison only in one direction. Mistabra that Rab Shimon is moidu to Rabbi Yeshua. But he agrees that Rabbi Yeshua is not moidu to Rab Shimon. Take a look. I know I'm dancing of Allah Chasanis, but take a look at the Pnei Moshe, 3 lines from the bottom. Rab Ze'era, Ka'amar, the Mistabra the Rab Shimon, Shaper moidu Rabbi Yeshua. Why? The ma hasam safik hu imais oiloi. See, he's saying a good word. When an animal has a blood seizure, when a person has, God forbid, an ailment, even if the doctors say the person is going to die, we don't know that for sure. To say that someone will die, that's Pnei Moshe's logic. It's not vadai. Maybe the animal will overcome this oichazoidam. But nevertheless, Rab Shimon is lenient. Mate Rab Shimon lahakis afa pi shoyse by mum. So hacha over here again, the wine is flowing into the vat. Here it's vadai. Here it's not a health issue that the neshama can overcome. Hacha the vadai titame v'teilach leibid. That's his logic of Rab Ze'era. So you're right. So like kolchchein that Rab Shimon will be moide to Rabbi Yeshua that you are allowed to be matama it be a dayim by putting kalim to meim, saving your chulin. However, Avo Rabbi Yeshua for the same logic. Now you see that's a different thing that the Marafulda says. Avo Rabbi Yeshua and Rabbi Shimon because of what we said. Maybe Rabbi Yeshua only says over here that you are allowed to be matama the wine because the vadai hu shetelach al-ibud. When it comes to an animal that's mortally ill, so what? So the animal is mortally ill. Could be the animal will live. Gavaldik. That's beautiful. Daf pei beis amid beis. Says the Gemara, hold on, I have a problem with you, Rab Ze'era. You're telling me that Rab Shimon is ma'adur to Rabbi Yeshua. So Rabbi Bun Bar Chia asked directly to Rab Ze'era, al daitoch the Tamar that Rab Shimon is ma'adur to Rabbi Yeshua. On the side, the kasha will be also on Rabbi Yechanan. He said the same thing, but he's focusing on Rab Ze'era. The final time, let's enjoy this. We're going back to the Mishnah Psachim. After Rab Meir says that you are allowed to burn chametz, truma, tahira, together with chametz, truma, temeya, on Erev Pesach, because they're both going li'ibud anyways. And on that, says Rabbi Yossi, that moedim, Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Shai disagree with you. When it's truma, temeya, and tahira, and you're going to make the tahira tamei by putting it together, I want you to know, says Rabbi Yossi to Rav Meir, Bein Rabbi Eliezer, Bein Rabbi Yeshua hold, Soirfen Zula Atzma v'Zula Atzma. Now, what's important to note, and we already quoted this a few days ago, And as the Gemara does in Masechtas Psachim, that even though the Mishnah has the Girsa, Amar Rabbi Yosi, this part of the Mishnah was actually said by Rab Shimon. That what is Rab Shimon saying? Rab Shimon is saying that Moedim Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yeshua, that if you have to hoira im tameya, everyone will agree you got to burn them separately. They only argue by Truma Teluya. That's the Mishnah Psachim. Now, I have a simple question. What are you telling me right now? That Rabbi Yeshua, that Rab Shimon is moida to Rabbi Yeshua. That what? That whenever, that when you have, even not for sure by the death, avade, when something will be going li'ibud, the wine in our Mishnah will be going li'ibud, so there's absolutely no obligation to safeguard it. Va'adarabba, you can be matamed biyodayim. If that shitas Rab Shimon, which is what he's saying, so hold on a second. Why is he saying that Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yeshua are moida, that if it's tohoida im tameya that you burn them separate? Why? Chametz is vaday going li'ibud. Chametz is vaday going li'ibud, because there's an obligation to burn it. If something is vaday going li'ibud, then avada you can be metamed b'yodayim. Gewaldig. Because without linking Rab Shimon to our Mishnah, say that. Our Mishnah is our Mishnah. You're telling me that Rab Shimon is moed to Rabbi Yeshua, and it's not a chiddush, because in the case of B'chayris, it's not even a certainty. Yeah, by the laws of medicine, the animal is going to die. For sure, by the case of gravity. So, the logic of something for sure is going to become destroyed, and you're allowed to, there's no din of safeguarding, you can burn it, you can be matal mum in it. So why is he such a given moedim Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yeshua? Absolutely not. According to Rab Shimon, Rabbi Yeshua will hold that you can burn them together. Gewaldig. Gewaldig. So Amalei, so Rab Ze'eda responded to Rabbi Chia Bar Bun, come on over there. He's saying something beautiful. When is it going li'ibud, my friends? When is chametz prohibited to be consumed? Let's go back to basics. Aviv. From when? Remember, ach b'yoyim harishon. Ach is a Yiddish word that the Torah puts in there. And what do we ach b'yoyim harishon? That it's not only you can't eat chametz from the b'yoyim harishon, from Erev Pesach, but from when? Midoiraisa, afternoon. The whole thing of we had 1 hour, we had 2 hours, that's all midrabanan. That's a gewaldige word. In other words, if the chametz is not allowed to be consumed biblically, it has to be burnt biblically. Vada, it's going to be li'ibud by burnt. You're right. Then according to Rab Shimon, according to Rabbi Yeshua, you can burn them together. But since we don't do it that way, we keep rabbinic law. We end up burning it. We end up burning it more than an hour before Chatzos. More. We burn it in a time where there's only a rabbinic issue. That's gewaldig. That's the difference. Tohiri dvar Torah. In other words, truma be'enahi. Can't say that, oh, this is hoylech le'ibud. No, not now. Not biblically. Of course, we keep rabbinic law, but it's not midoraisa. Atohu shegozarta l'sefer. You, the chachamim, made that's so gewaldig. Masha'enkein, the bechar. No, the bechar is going to die. The barrel right now is going to become tamei. It's already flowing, not in an hour and a half. That's a gewaldige difference. So this is such a great answer. No one thought about that. The only problem is, now we got a new problem. Like I mentioned in the introduction, Hesach Hadas. Hesach Hadas is a big topic. You know where we have today Hesach Hadas? By Yodayim. You know, a shul should have a sink. Before you daven, you wash your hands. Why? Who says your hands became tamei? I don't know. But since I was Masiach Das to safeguard my hands, I was not thinking about what my hands are doing, where they're touching, there's a presumption of Tumah. That's a big klal. And not only that, it's not only rabbinic klal. Hesach Hadas, according to many opinions, is a doiraisa concept. And something that needs safeguarding. When it's not safeguarded, the presumption biblically is you got into trouble. It's like your kids, not my kids. The presumption is they're getting into trouble. If you're not supervising them, that's just joking. But you'll make the same joke when you'll have kids. So here we go. So and let me tell you something. And don't tell me hesech hadas is a rabbinic, because then we're back to the same answer that he gave before, which was a brilliant answer. No, hesech hadas is a dvar Torah. This is gavaldik. So what's my problem? My problem is that once the Chachamim says you're not allowed to eat truma, if I'm not allowed to eat truma, then rabbinic law, you know what? Minig, doesn't matter. I'm a truma yid. I'm not going to eat truma. In my mind, think about nowadays. What do you do out of Pesach? 10:42, this time is takes my head. 10:39. Once that happens, we don't eat chametz. The only thing is we got to burn it. I don't have to burn it. The second I have the hour to burn it. We're all masiach das from eating it. We don't safeguard it. So it's tamei anyway. So again, the kasha is, you, Rab Ze'eda, are saying that Rab Shimon holds with Rabbi Yeshua, that what? That's something that's for sure hoylech le'ibud. You can be metama b'yadayim. So why did Rab Shimon, and Rab Shimon is the one that said in the Mishnah, Sacham Daf Yudalid, that bein l'Rabbi Eliezer, bein l'Rabbi Yeshua, you have to burn them separately? Why? Says the Gemara, Chav Yeshniya Kirabi Meir Toira Achiz Asdam Kirab Shimon Toira. Just like in the Mishnah's second case, for sure, you're allowed to burn it, like I explained. And Achiz Asdam, you're allowed to make a blemish because it's biblically blemished. Like we mentioned, let's go with the Marafulda, it's already blemished. Hesech hadas, dvar Torah, makes it tamei. So there's no chametz tohira. And the Gemara gives a gavaldik answer. This is so good. I love this. Yehu said hesech hadas, and it's so true. Don't think that the moment you tell a Jew you can't eat the chametz, that's truma or kohen, he's masiach das. He's not masiach das. He's not going to eat it. But you know what we have to deal with chametz, which we deal with? What's everyone's concerned out of Pesach? Before you burn the chametz, what are you thinking about? What don't you want to happen? You don't want the chametz to get mixed into your Pesach kitchen. No, there isn't hesech. There's only hesech hadas not to eat it. Amalei, no. Shumeshamro shuletiga petaharis acheres. Emes. That's the answer. So there isn't hesech hadas. And therefore, this is the point. If we would have burned chametz when you are usher to eat chametz dvar Torah, you're right that according to Rab Shimon, according to Rabbi Yeshua, you would be allowed to burn them together. We burn it within, not even an hour before. It's amazing. We don't finish burning it by Chatzois. We finish burning it an hour before Chatzois. Look how far back we go. That's a rabbinic issue. And therefore, no, you can't burn them together. One more kasha. We have time. 2 minutes. Chosiv Rabbi Yitzchak Bereid Rab Chia. The great Rab Chia. This is against Rab Ze'eda. Haga atzmecha. I have another problem. You're telling me that there isn't hesech hadas because people are watching it that shouldn't touch taharas. You know what happens? The moment you put it on top of the coals, the moment you put it on the pyre, you're not worried that it's going to get mixed into your Pesach kitchen. So there should be hesech hadas. Now that there is hesech hadas, you should be able to put taharas together with it, taharas and tameas together. So there is, as in other words, I have no concern for Amar Coin. I know what hesech hadas means for chametz. We all have this neurosis that we're afraid that the chametz, the 10 pieces, where are they? We're very mindful. But the moment a person comes to and he throws it in the fire, even before it burns, you feel that's it. So then you have hesech hadas, and the Gemara says you're right. If you already put the truma tohoira on the coals, for 1 second, you are allowed to put truma temeya on it. Because you had hesech hadas. Amallah, yeah. That licha sheyetneno. This is a very good thing. What is prohibited? It's prohibited to put them together before you throw them on the coals. Daf Pei Gimel. Let's get another minute. I guess tomorrow it's going to be easy. We're going to We have one more question against Rab Ze'era, who says that Rab Shimon agrees with Rabbi Yeshua. Amalei Rabban Rab Shammai, Atan Amrim Yoider Rab Shimon Rabbi Yeshua. Again, you should be allowed to burn it together. Vafilu Rabbi Yeshua leis he Rabbi Yeshua. Hold on. Rabbi Yeshua himself says that Rabbi Yeshua himself have a stira. Guys, Rabbi Yeshua allows Chav Yeshniya. He allows you to be metama the wines. Rabbi Yeshua himself does not allow for you to burn chametz tohidem tameya. Rabbi Yeshua over here in Trumais that allows you to be metama the wine. Rabbi Yeshua himself does not allow you to burn chametz tohida together with tameya. So we have a stira between Rabbi Yeshua himself, which really means, and why is it? And what did we explain in the last couple of days? Why do we allow Rabbi Yeshua over here to be metama? Forget about Rabbi Shimon. How did we explain that? Because Rabbi Yeshua is machalik between hefsed meruba and not hefsed meruba. But if not for the hefsed meruba, what does Rabbi Yeshua really hold? That you cannot be metama biyodayim. So how can you say Rabbi Shimon holds like Rabbi Yeshua? Rabbi Shimon is vaday more lenient than Rabbi Yeshua. Rabbi Yeshua himself is only lenient over here. Rabbi Shimon holds like Rabbi Yeshua here in Trumais. Rabbi Yeshua in Temurais doesn't even say that in Psachim. So don't compare. How can you compare Rabbi Shimon to Rabbi Yeshua? And Rabbi Yeshua really is more machmir. He doesn't agree that you can be matama b'yodayim. Here there's a ifshar Rav and Meruba. Amalei, so he told him Tanoyin Inon Tamon Rab Meir b'Shem Rabbi Yeshua. Now we're going back. I want to just finish it now because we're going back to the Chavraya. Chavraya said that Shnia is Rabbi Meir. V'leis Rabbi Yosi Moidaba. Rab Ze'era will agree with the Chavraya, even though we had kashas on that. And he holds that our Mishnah, who says that Rabbi Yeshua says you can be metama it, only follows Rabbi Meir. Bram hachem, but in Psachim, Rab Shimon is b'shem Rabbi Yeshua. Everything fits. In other words, he's saying Gavaldik. He's saying, according to Rab Shimon, Rabbi Yeshua holds by Chav Yeshniya, you're not allowed to be metama it. The same way Rabbi Yeshua holds that you're not allowed to burn tohidem tameya. Fakert. There's no stira between Rabbi Yeshua and Rabbi Yeshua because Rab Shimon, really, we're saying, Rab Ze'era learns like the Chavraya. This concludes the whole sugya. So there's no stira between our Mishnah and the Mishnah over there. And Atkan, the Chavraya, at the end of everything, we went back to learn our Mishnah like the Chavraya. That's the big chiddush that we finished the Gemara today, that according to Rab Ze'era and others, with all of the big kashas that you had, our Mishnah only follow Shitas Rav Meir b'Shem Rabbi Yeshua. This is important. According to the Chavraya, there's no such a thing as hefsed meruba, that you're not allowed to be matama anything b'yodayim. The only question is, why would Rab Shimon be more lenient over there in Bechayres? I'm going to the Marafulda. Because here, the wine now is tohira. You're being matama it. The truma now is tohira. You're being matama it. Rab Shimon holds that an animal that medically is said will die is already a balmum. It's different. So if something is already a balmum, you can make another mum in it. That's the reason why he's lenient over there. And a lot more on Bechayres to be continued tomorrow.
Yeah.